right, welcome to day 3, and today we're going to talk about points of intersection and making decisions. Now, if anyone asks me what grade 9s learn in grade 9 math, this is the example question I bring up because it is a real-life application of the mathematics we've been studying, and it uses a lot of the stuff we've been doing in the last couple of units, plus what we're doing here in Unit 5. So I'm really excited for this example, and hopefully you'll enjoy seeing the practical application of the math we've been studying. So the question here is a classic question. The banquet center charges $200 to rent a hall plus $20 per person for dinner. So maybe this is for a wedding. They have a rental fee and then they charge $20 per person for dinner. A different hall charges $22 per person, but only has $100 to rent their hall. So this is a classic conundrum. Like, which one should we pick? Because obviously, this one's $200 versus $100, so that's going to be more expensive, but they charge less per person, whereas these guys charge more per person. So it's really hard to tell which is the better deal. So the answer to this question about which is better is it depends. It depends on how many people are showing up. If you only have like 10 people showing up, why would you pay the extra? Or you might be interested in only paying $100 and paying the little bit extra for the dinner price instead of having to pay this $200 flat rate at the beginning and getting a deal on your dinner. And vice versa, if there's lots of people attending, you might not mind paying a bigger rental fee in order to save money on the dinner. So the question is, which one is better? And the answer is it depends. So let's actually investigate this and use the math that we've been studying to try and answer this question, get a better answer to this question. So first we're going to start by writing the equations for each of these. So you've been practicing writing equations, y equals mx plus b for a while. So let's do it for the first one. So the banquet center charges $200 to rent the hall plus $20 per dinner. So the $200 is a flat rate. You pay that regardless how many people show up. So that's going to go at the end of the equation, and the $20 per person is the thing that's changing, the rate of change, the slope, the y-intercept, the rate of change, the slope, or the first difference. So in this case, we're going to say it's 20x plus 200. Now the other guy charges $22 per dinner, but only $100 to rent their hall. So their flat rate is 100, but their rate of change is 22. So let's try and graph these and see if we can figure out what the graph tells us. So I'm going to start by graphing the y-intercept, the flat rate. That point we know with ease. So $200 is the flat rate for the green one. So right there, I'm going to go to the green, and when 0 people are there, you're going to charge $200. Okay? The festival hall, the blue one, when 0 people there, you're going to charge $100. So we've got a flat rate right there. Now, we could use a table of values, and you might want to do a table of values off on the side to do a couple other points. That's a great idea. Some of this I could probably do in my head. So for example, 10 people, I think I can do that in my head. If there's 10 people, 10 times 20 is 200, plus the other $200 makes it $400. So I can go off and plot the point 10 people on the green company costs $400. All right, what about the blue company? The blue company, 10 people, is 22 times 10 is 220 plus $100 rate. That's going to be $320. Okay, so there's 300 right there. So it's just a little bit above that. Let's put a dot at $320. Now I can check that on my calculator if I wanted. So let's just do that last one there. 22 times 10 people is 220 plus the $100 fee, and we get 320. So that's good. Let's use our calculator to go a little bit further. Let's try 20 people. So we'll clear this out. And for the green company, it's $20 times 20 people. That's, I think, $400. Yep. Plus the $200 flat rate. So that's going to be $600. So for 20 people, it's going to be $600. So I'll mark that with a green dot. And then let's do the blue one. So clear. So $22 times 20 people, that's $440 for the meal, but you only pay $100 for that. So that's $540. So let's go and put 540. So there's 540 is right about there. Okay, so what you're seeing is at the beginning, obviously, it's cheaper to choose the blue company because your flat rate is so low, even though it's getting steeper. The green, though, is slowly getting less and less expensive compared to the blue one. Now, I've got a bunch of other graphs or points plotted here for you. So there's all the blue ones, and just above it are all the green ones. And you can verify these on the calculator. But let's actually draw the lines now. So I'm going to take the green arrow and go and draw my line through all of these points. And you can see that that seems to be doing pretty good. I'm just going to move it up a little bit just so it's pretty good. There's lined up nicely. Okay, and let's check. Let's do our blue arrow starting here. And because it has a steeper of slope, you can see that it's going through. It's going to end up being a little bit steeper. So just go there. And there's a spot where the blue one starts to become more expensive. And that's what we were kind of predicting. If you have a lot of people there, sure, you save $100 on the rental fee, but because you're paying $2 more on every dinner, if you've got a lot of people, you end up paying more money. So, whereas the green one, sure, you pay $200 at the beginning, but if you have a lot of people, you end up saving that money and it ends up being cheaper. So, what I'm really interested in is this spot right here, the spot where they cross, because that's the spot where the blue company becomes more expensive and the green company becomes cheaper. And knowing that number is going to really help me make my decision. So find the point of intersection. So the point of intersection is going to be that spot right here. If I go and click right there, it is. And I can read it off the graph that that's 50 and 1200. So the point of intersection is the coordinate 50 and 1200. Well, what does that mean? Well, that's the spot. The point of intersection is the spot where these two companies charge the same amount. So for 50 people, they both charge $1,200. Let's check that. So we're going to go. So $20. The first one is $20. So 20 times 50 people plus your $200 rental fee is $1,200, and then $22 times 50 people plus your $100 rental fee is also $1,200. So that's the spot where they charge the same amount. Okay, so that's really, really helpful because now I can make it a decision. Now, if I knew how many people were attending, I could pick which one I want. So, for example, if I asked you if 40 people are attending, which one are you going to choose? Well, 40 people is going to be the blue one. You're going to choose the blue one because you can see it's lower than the green one. It's before this intersection. But if I was telling you 70 people, then you could say choose the green one. But what I want you to do is not make a decision on which one's better. I want you to give advice to someone who's choosing. So you don't know how many people are attending that person's event. So the advice you're going to say when someone asks you which one is better is this. You're going to start off by saying, it depends. That is the key answer to this. Now, we can get a better answer than just it depends. You can tell the person exactly what the criteria is. So our answer is it depends. If there's going to be less than 50 people, which one are you going to choose? You're going to choose the blue one, and the blue one was the festival hall. So you're going to pick festival hall. And if there's going to be more than 50 people, then you're going to choose the green one because that's when it ends up eventually being cheaper, and you're going to choose the banquet center. So your answer to all these questions about making decisions, your answer is always going to be it depends. And then you're going to give a clear indication of which one is cheaper. Okay. And then the person who's asking you can then go off and make a decision based on all this information. I don't want you to go off and say, oh, I'm only going to have 30 people, so I'm going to pick Festival Hall. No, you don't make that decision. You say it depends and offer their criteria so someone else can decide. The other thing I don't want to see is you say, I'm going to pick the banquet center because it looks prettier. No. that's not a decision we're making in this time. Okay, we're just talking about which is cheaper. All right, so that's what we're going to do. Let's do another example. So the electric company charges $5 monthly fee plus 6 cents per kilowatt for power. Viridian charges only 4 cents per kilowatt, but has a $15 monthly fee. So again, these two situations, one is going to be better depending on how many kilowatts you use. So let's write the equations for this. So the first one is a $5 flat rate. So that's going to be my B. It's going to be at the end. And the 6 cents per kilowatt, well, I'm going to change that to dollars and say 0.06 dollars, that's 6 cents, per X plus your $5 flat rate. What's the equation for Viridian? So you can imagine that it's 4 cents. So we're going to have 0.04x plus the monthly fee there is 15. All right, so this I'm definitely going to need a table of values or my graphic or my calculator to help me with some of this math. One thing I can start with, though I don't need the calculator for this, I can do my flat rates. So the green one starts at $5, so that's right there. And the blue one is going to start at $15, so that's way up here. Okay, so that's going to be helpful. Let's check a couple one. Let's actually do 200 this time. So let's do the 200 point. So at 6 cents, that's 0.06 times 200. And I can actually do all this on my calculator. I can do it all in one step, plus 5, and I get $17. Okay, so for 200, let's choose the green here. At 200, that's going to be $17. Okay, so that's 15. So 17 is right about there. Okay, and let's check the blue graph. That's 4 cents times 200. Oops, only 200 equals, and then plus you've got a $15 flat rate. So the blue one's going to be a little bit higher there at $23. So with 200, we're going to go up to $23. So that's right about there. Okay. So you can do this for a couple other points. I've got the other points graphed here. So let's just bring in a couple of more green ones and a couple more blue ones. But let's get to drawing the arrow. So there's my blue one. It's going to be up here. And it's going to go something like that. And my green arrow is going to start lower, but it has a steeper slope. And so it's going to cross someplace around there. Now, at this point, you can see one of the disadvantages of doing this. Excuse me. It's hard to read this number here, but if I had to predict, I would say the point of intersection is probably 450 and maybe, I don't know, $32. Let's see. I've got it here. Oh, wow. My graphs are really off. Gotta adjust that. Oh, I see what happened. The starting point is a little too high. And there we go. That's a better graph. All right, good. So you can see, I mean, I'm glad that happened actually, because it's hard. It shows how difficult it is to use this graph to make these predictions in accurate spots. But it turns out that's the point of intersection. So we're going to go 535. So what does that mean? Well, 500 kilowatts, so 500 kilowatts ends up being $35. So they cost the same at that spot. So again, if we're going to make a recommendation, what advice would you say? You start off with, it depends. And if you're going to use under 500 kilowatts, you're going to choose the green one, which is electric company. And if you're going to use more than 500 kilowatts, you'll choose the blue one, which is Viridian. Okay, so because it is such a challenge to graph these to get accurate numbers, I'm going to ask for some help. So I'm going to go to Desmos. So the Desmos is the graphing calculator. I know you've been using Desmos as an activity builder, but it started off as a graphing calculator. So if you do a Google search for Desmos, the first thing that pop up will be the graphing calculator. So you're going to go there, and you're going to get a graph like this, okay? And you can put in equations just like we had. So we had the first equation was, actually what I'll do is split screen this so you can see it. So the first equation is 0.6x plus 5. So you can put that in. And if I push and hold this button, I can change the color. So let's make it green, just like the one I had there. And y equals 0.04x plus 15. And you see that there's the blue one. Okay. Now, if you look at my graph, though, I can't even see the blue one. So what's going on? Well, that's because my graph is just a basic Cartesian plane. We want to make the graph look more like this. So we can do that by going to settings. And down here in the x-axis, you can put a low point and a high point. So I'm going to start at 0. My x-axis goes from 0 to 1,000. And the step is how many times I see it tick. So let's go up by 100. You see how that's going up by 100s? Okay, and my y-axis, I'm going to start at 0 as well. And if you look at the y-axis goes up to 60. So I'm going to type in 60, and this goes up by tens. Now you can see my graph much better. I'll just move it a little bit so you can see the numbers. Okay, so that looks much more like my graph over here. So let's just go this big screen so you can see it. So now I have full confidence about the accuracy of my graph. And I can just go and click on the button right here to see where it is, and it tells me it's 535. So for 500 kilowatts, they both charge $35. So using Desmos is going to be a really valuable tool. We can even use it for the other one. So the other one was right here. So let's go back to split screen. Okay, so we're going to go off and change this to 20x plus 200. And this one we're going to change to 22x plus 100. Now, of course, my scale is all out of whack again, so I'm going to go back here, change this from 0. Now, for number of people, it has gone up to 80. So let's go up to 80. And I'm going in steps of 10. And then my y-axis is starting at 0 and going up to 1,400 in steps of 200. Okay, now this graph looks a little bit more like the one we did. And again, it's hard to see the point of intersection. It's difficult to see. I think it's about here, but even if I guess a little bit off, you can see how Desmos helps me and goes straight to that point. It knows it's an important point as well. So there's that spot, that intersection. Okay. All right. So what you're going to do now is take all this information, and instead of doing graphs by hand or on the thing, I've made up a really cool Desmos activity that allows you to go through all this and get most accurate points. Okay, so you're going to go off and try that activity. It looks a little bit like this. So here's one where it's downloading movies, and there's two different companies. So you wonder which one is better. So you're going to write your equation in for the first company. It will graph it for you. Okay, you write in your equation for the second company. It will graph it for you. Then the graphs will be on here, and you'll be able to figure out what the point of intersection. You see that? It's asking, what does it mean? Just like we did in ours. Remember? All the same questions here. What's the point of intersection? What does it mean? Okay, and then, so what does it mean? And then you're going to write that point of intersection right here, and the coordinates will pop up for you. Remember, you can click on it to see what it is. And then what advice? So you're going to start off here. All of your advice was, it depends. And underneath, if you download however movies, pick this company. If you download more than however movies, pick that company. But you're going to start off with it depends. Okay? And then you can go off, and there's different scenarios in this whole activity. Okay? So that's where you're going to go from here. This is a really, really important lesson. Like I said, this is a very, very good indication of all the stuff we've been doing so far in grade 9. So best of luck.